I have a confession. I have never been a huge fan of Opel.
Opel. Wir leben Autos.
For those that don't know, Opel used to be the European arm of General Motors, and although they made some fabulous cars in the 80s and 90s like the Senator and the Omega, the 2000s and the 2010s were just full of mediocre cars. This included the first generation Mokka, later called the Mokka X, a decent attempt, but ultimately a forgettable small crossover. In 2017, Opel was saved from the mismanaged clutches of General Motors by the French PSA group. Almost every Opel model since then has moved to a PSA platform of some description. And while the Crossland is the sensible small crossover from Opel, they decided to go a little differently with the new Mokka, going full force with their new design language in the process. What's the result? It's time to find out. My name is Korr, and you're watching Korr's Auto Tours. So this is the all-new second generation 2021 Opel Mokka. Even though it's still called the Mokka, this new generation car goes about things rather differently, and it's aimed at a different audience as a result. It's the first Opel model to debut their all-new youth-friendly design language, but more on the exterior in a second. The car we have here is the top-of-the-line Ultimate model, and it has basically every feature, with the only option on this one being the paint, which is called Matcha Green. The new Mokka is substantially smaller than the outgoing one, meaning it perfectly fits the PSA Group's EMP1 platform, also found in the Peugeot 2008 that I drove earlier in 2021. At the front, the predominant feature is Opel's new visor, a shiny piece of trim that incorporates the new headlight design rather well. In this Ultimate model, they are adaptive LED units. There are also LED fog lights and a rather small grille opening. This is normally not something that I would mention, but considering that most automakers are currently trying to unnumber themselves on grille sizes, it's refreshing to see one so small. The side profile of the Mokka is definitely eye-catching, thanks to that sloping roof and the chrome trim running the entire length of the roof. This car also has the contrasting black roof color, which is optional on the lower-end trim levels. This car is also equipped with the 18-inch diamond-cut Y-spoke wheels. While I'm not a fan of diamond-cut wheels in general, they actually suit the car very well, and they remind me a lot of the wheels found on Opel's own Insignia OPC, which isn't a bad thing at all. The rear end, meanwhile, places the Mokka inscription right in the middle of the tailgate, which also houses the simple but very effective full LED taillights. I also really like how Opel integrated the fuel door with the bottom half following the line of the wheel arch. At the very lowest central point of the rear bumper, we find the rear fog light, and twin polished exhaust pipes. This Mokka is equipped with a 1.2-liter turbo 3-cylinder with 130 horsepower. There's also a 100 horsepower version of this engine, along with a 110 horsepower diesel. The Mokka E uses a 50 kilowatt-hour battery pack which moves along a front-mounted 136 horsepower electric motor. The 130 horsepower 3-cylinder is the only one offered with the 8-speed automatic transmission. From my experience, this is the powertrain combo you want, and it's also the one on this particular car. Before we climb inside, let's check out the key fob. It's the familiar PSA Group key fob with a similar layout, except that we now finally have a tailgate release button instead of a welcome lights button. The Opel logo is surrounded by these unusual curvatures on the rear of the key. The new Mokka has a keyless entry system. Just have the key fob on you and you can lock the doors by pressing your finger against these two ridges. It also automatically locks when you walk away and unlocks automatically when you get near it. It's finally time to climb inside the Mokka. Right off the bat, the seat upholstery in this Ultimate model is excellent. It's partial leather with these Alcantara-esque inserts in the middle. This trim also carries over on the door panels in the front. The dashboard is dominated by Opel's new Pure panel, which encloses the two displays in a very accessible shiny black trim piece, flanked by the climate vents on either side. While the piano black looks nice, it will get coated in fingerprints almost immediately. Starting up the Mokka brings both Pure panel screens to life. They're very crisp and easy to read, but we'll go more into detail in a second. The steering wheel is the familiar Opel 3-spoke design with a little bit of glossy chrome and multifunction controls on the top two spokes. It's very well sized and thanks to the electric power steering, very easy to steer. As mentioned previously, this Mokka is outfitted with the 8-speed automatic transmission. It's controlled through this little switch in the center. While holding the brake, pull it all the way down for drive, 1/2 push for neutral, and all the way up for reverse. Engaging reverse also brings up the rear view camera, which features several selectable views. The P button engages park, while the M button puts the transmission in manual mode, enabling the use of the paddle shifters by the steering wheel. Time to talk infotainment system. The Mokka features a new system relayed through a 10-inch touchscreen right here in the middle, accompanied nicely by a 12-inch digital instrument cluster. All of the usual suspects are here, including easy-to-use navigation, Bluetooth connectivity, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which work perfectly, as well as some basic vehicle functions being controlled through this system. Mercifully, most of the AC controls are actual buttons and dials, with the only control that requires the use of the touchscreen being the climate zones. If you're struggling with the touchscreen, you can also use the voice commands as shown here.
To begin, say a command after the tone.
Phone.
How can I help you with phone?
Cancel. Sitting in front of the driver is the 12-inch gauge cluster display. It's one of my favorites I've seen so far, as it's very simple, easy to read, and very customizable. The items shown on the screen can be changed through the rotary dial on the turn signal lever, but the color theme also changes depending on the drive mode that you're in. Eco mode is green, normal is white, sport is red. More on the drive mode later though. As you can see, you can have a full screen nav display here, as well as your trip data or just a basic minimalistic speedometer, or a combined view as you just saw. And here's a quick little demonstration of the exterior lighting. Time to climb into the rear seats. One thing I have to say, the door panels on the rear doors aren't quite as nice as the ones in the front doors. It's not a huge deal, but something worth pointing out. Space in the back is pretty good. For reference, I am 1.8 meters or 5'11" tall, and the driver's seat is in my position. Even with the sloped roofline, the space is good, and that's backed up by a passenger I had in the car who is a couple centimeters taller than me. You also get pockets in the front seats and 2 USB ports. Finally, before the drive, let's get on to the cargo area. With 350 liters or 12.3 cubic feet of cargo space, while not the absolute best in the class, it's still a great amount of storage. If you do need more space, you can fold the rear seats down. Unfortunately, you have to do that through the interior. Now it's on to the test drive, except I was unfortunately unable to film the test drive portion of this video due to technical difficulties, so I have instead decided to overlay footage of the Mokka on your screens and tell you all about the car's driving experience. So, let's begin with the engine. Like I said previously, this is the powertrain you want, unless you want to go electric, obviously. The 130 horsepower is exactly the amount that this car needs, and it perfectly suits highway and city driving. The automatic transmission is pretty solid. It didn't really hesitate with gear changes at all in my experience. The suspension is a little rough at low speeds, but that's because the Mokka is a pretty fun car to drive and it feels faster than its 0 to 60 time of 8.6 seconds would suggest. The 3 drive modes also change the way the car behaves, mostly to do with gear changes and throttle response. In Eco, for example, throttle response is delayed and it changes gears at lower revs to maximize fuel economy, whereas Sport mode holds the revs higher and gives you sharper throttle response. Thanks to the backup camera and front and rear parking sensors, all of them standard on the Ultimate model, the Mokka is also very easy to park. That camera will come in handy as rear visibility is slightly compromised thanks to the sloped roof and small rear glass. One thing I did notice is auto start-stop gets a little confused if the air conditioning is running, but it's not really a big deal as the Mokka's fuel economy estimates are surprisingly good. Overall, as an urban city runabout with a fair amount of highway capabilities, the Mokka does a great job. So that's the 2021 Opel Mokka. Honestly, I didn't expect to like it this much. It's a great little crossover with cool styling, a great lineup of powertrains, good technology, and great equipment levels. It's definitely proof that Opel's days of humdrum mediocrity are way behind them, and the future is looking bright for this automaker. To quickly touch on pricing in Macedonia, the Mokka starts from 19,420 euros, whereas this Ultimate model that I drove is priced at 25,900. Every model in the lineup also includes the Opel FlexCare package, which gives you an extra 2 years or 80,000 kilometers of warranty coverage, whichever comes first, as well as the FlexCare roadside assistance. So what's the verdict? The new Opel Mokka is definitely a worthy contender in the highly competitive small crossover segment, and like I said, I am very excited to see what the future holds for Opel. It gets a rating of 7.5 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching this video, everybody. If you liked it, be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel. You can find my socials in the description, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.